Does your flying in BRM5 look like this? Or maybe something a little bit more like this?
Bingo. Bingo. Engine fire left. Engine.
Maybe you're one of the unlucky souls who flies like this. Or maybe you just want to get better in general. Well, today, I'm going to discuss some of the things that you could start doing now to improve your flying. Let's begin. Alright, now that we're here at the helicopter, I'm going to start that bad boy up. Assuming you know how to do that, seeing as you've probably played around with this once or twice and have probably found it a little bit difficult to use. The first trick that we're going to discuss here is hovering. It's the whole point of having a helicopter. Once the engine's good and ready, you're going to tap space a couple times, and then give nice gentle taps on W, A, S, and D in order to keep yourself in the correct position. I recommend trying to focus on something on the ground as you try to attempt your hover, and try to keep it at the same position on your screen. It's easier with practice. You can see here I'm not even that good at it. But as long as you can keep it in that general helipad circle, you're doing a lot better than most. You don't need to use E and Q so much, but they help in order to correct your heading. Once you feel comfortable, start taking it up a little bit. You're going to need the altitude for our next maneuver. Alright. From here, we're going to transition to forward flight. Tap W a couple times to get your nose pointed downward, and you'll notice you'll start moving forward after a second or two. It's an important thing to note. With helicopters, the input is a little bit delayed. You'll notice that things you do now will take effect a second or two later. To correct up and down, you just balance between W and S to get a nice, I'd almost call it level plane here, but you're not very level. Now that you've mastered going forward in the aircraft, or at least practiced it, it's very important to learn how to stop. Since we started by tilting forward to go forward, we should tilt backwards to go backwards and reduce our speed. When you're ready, tilt sharply upward and drop power slightly by tapping shift. Then level off your aircraft so you don't start flying backwards. You'll notice what you've achieved here is a brief hover. Continue practicing stop and go maneuvers like this until you feel completely comfortable with them. Being able to stop quickly and accelerate quickly are essential for being a helicopter pilot. You're doing great so far. Now it's time to put it all together and see what you can do. From a forward flight, we're going to try to land on a helipad. The first thing we've learned is forward flight. Now we're going to practice our quick stop. Just like that, you're pretty close to where you want to be. Now you're going to try to hover above the helipad and use shift in gradual taps to bring yourself down until you land on it. A little bit of practice, you'll be getting really consistent results. If I can do it, you can too. It's time to talk about turning. I want you to notice what happened when I just pressed the Q rudder key. Notice how I'm getting pushed further and further away from the helipad? The tail rotor is turning me, yes, but it's also pushing on me, which creates a sideways thrust. To counteract that, and to make my turn circle a little bit smaller, you roll in the same direction as you're turning. You can also add collective to maintain altitude, which is that space bar, and would you look at that, we came flying out of the turn, ready to go. For higher speed maneuvers though, that's not going to work as well. What you're going to want to do is nose down, add a tiny bit of roll, and mainly rely on your rudder to kick you through that turn with speed. Don't turn too quickly, and let off a little bit every so often, otherwise you will lose all your speed, and it's going to be a real pain to get that back, especially when you're trying to get somewhere in a hurry. That being said, there are times when turning sharp is beneficial. Right here, I tried to maintain my speed through the turn and didn't consider how close the mountain was. The end result was hitting the mountain and almost losing the helicopter. Helicopters have a little bit of input delay. That goes not only for when you're moving forward, but also when you're trying to bring something to a stop. If you try to stop the helicopter by moving in the wrong direction for too long, then you'll start moving that way. It's very important to get a feel for that. I recommend starting at high altitude and practicing coming to stops from all directions, such as forward, backward, left, and right. It's very important to play with your collective as well to try to maintain altitude and reduce the acceleration. A good thing to keep in mind is that reducing your power with the shift key is very helpful for reducing the overall acceleration of your aircraft in maneuvers. Now it's time for the fun part. Get nice and low and slow with the terrain. Kind of think of it as an obstacle course to test your skills. We're going to use this hangar as an example here. Going to come to a nice quick stop, and then we're going to try to maneuver our way into it without scraping our blades. Very important, using those counteracting movements to stay nice and steady. Then we wiggle our way into there. Just like that. Haven't touched the floor, haven't touched the ceiling, haven't touched the walls, and we are in there pretty good. Now we're just going to back our way out the way we came. Keep this party going. Just following the taxiway here. This is another great example of what you can do at low and slow maneuvers. Slowing down to try to keep nice and on that center line, and then flip it around as you need to. Here's another good example. These fuel barrels here are an excellent landing practice. They're plenty large, and they're about the size of most of the helipads at the enemy locations. You can land on these pretty comfortably. You'll have no issue getting onto those. You can also use the features of the terrain here at the FOB. They tend to be pretty familiar throughout the entire island. Dropping in for a nice roll turn. This is something to keep in mind. If you land on uneven terrain like this, it can send you flying. You have to be especially careful with that. You could see I was perfectly lined up, and all it took was one rock to completely mess up my flight. Greetings, operator. An urgent mission has surfaced that needs immediate intervention from our best aircrew. Your mission is to fly over to Kozlovka undetected, eliminate the HVT stationed on the roof of the motel building, and get out of there. Good luck, operator, and stay safe. Clean kill. Not a trace left behind. Get on board the helicopter and get the hell out of Dodge. We're waiting for you back at the air traffic control tower. See if you can get there in one piece. If you've made it this far on your own, you're well on your way to becoming a great pilot here on BRM5. I've got nothing left for you. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. And if you like what you saw here today, consider subscribing or leaving a like down below. I'm Snow Tato, sometimes known as Poe-st, and I'll see you in the next one.